given the thank you for the recording. Given the time, we might skip the presentation and the introduction, maybe for the end of the webinar, depending on the number of people that we have here, so that those of you who don't know each other may get to know each other a little bit. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for participating at different times, different time zones, with very busy schedules. I know we all do have incredibly, we're all incredibly time poor. And so I really appreciate that you all made the time to get to hear from each other what has been happening in the field of, at least in the academic hub of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. I just wanted to say that I've been really fortunate in working for GARN and as the director of the academic hub for the last 3 years, and we have been able to seed and help a number of projects to grow at different pace and to a different extent over the last 3 years. Obviously, as you know, the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor and the Tracker are probably the most advanced project that we have developed thus far, but you also will see that there are quite a few projects that are at different stages of development right now. They are incredibly exciting. I also have to share that after 3 years, I think it's time to pass on the baton and let others lead the hub. And so I would like to introduce the new facilitators. I'll be stepping down from the leadership of the academic hub, and let me introduce the two new facilitators and coordinators, Caitlin and Lauren. I think it's time for the younger generations to take over and to lead the new set of projects that I will continue to work in an advisory capacity in the hub and helping with the transition. But I'm really happy to see that the hub is in very capable hands, very enthused and enthusiastic hands. Together with the new facilitators, we have also a new steering committee, whereby we have Lucy Gavahan, Kat Haas, Linda Sheehan, and Lucy who will be leading or steering the academic hub. So can I just introduce you very briefly, Caitlin and Lauren, if you would like to say a couple of words? Caitlin, over to you.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Caitlin. I know a lot of you from my time as the organizer for GARN. I'm based in the US in Michigan. I'm currently getting my PhD in environmental policy. And I also work as the North American Hub facilitator. So I'm really excited to be transitioning over to Academic Hub as well. And super excited to get to know all of you on a closer level. So thank you so much, Alessandro.
Thanks, Caitlin. And Lauren?
Hi, yeah, and thanks. It's great to see everybody. So I'm Lauren. I'm also based in the US and in Michigan most of the time. I'm a PhD candidate in environmental science policy focus. And for the last 3 years have been helping run the youth hub. And a lot of the youth were actually more grad student based. So it's kind of cool shifting over to the academic hub because that's kind of where I've been networking at anyway in the student side of things. So I am excited to see all the projects and continue to support all these projects. And yeah, so thank you, Alex.
Excellent, thank you. One final comment about the hub and the structure of the hub before we delve into the projects without any further ado. The idea of the hub is to create a space for people to interact with each other, and both at the individual level and at the project level. We are now ready to launch the website, so stay tuned. The website will go live over the next few days, and the website. The purpose of the website is twofold. One is to create, if you want to, a portal or a face for all those of us who would like to be recognized as members of this group, who have an interest in what I term ecological jurisprudence, the theory and practice of law that is informed by ecological practices or principles. And the idea is simply to have our photos, bios, and perhaps email and contact details visible on the hub so that we know who to contact, who to connect with if we have particular projects that we have interest in. So that's the first purpose of the website. The second purpose of the website is to showcase the different projects that we have and to actively show what is happening. One, as I said, is the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor, which has already been well established and it's continuing to grow. But there are many other projects that are emerging. Anyone, membership to the hub, just to clarify, is open to everybody who may be interested in joining, as long as they are members of the academic community in an enlarged sense, meaning either actively members of an academic institution or enrolled in a tertiary, in a post-tertiary degree, could be a PhD or a master, or they have been published authors in the field, or they are traditional knowledge holders. So the steering committee will approve anyone who falls within these categories, and then anyone who has a particular project in mind can propose a project, and the hub, the purpose of the hub is to support each other in leading these projects. So this is a very brief overview of what the hub is intended to be and how the website will hopefully facilitate these two paths and pathways for the hub. I will leave the questions for the end, but without any further ado, I'd like actually to showcase some of these projects. And so, given that we have quite a few projects, I will, everybody will have around 5 minutes. There's the possibility of all the presenters to upload PowerPoints presentations if you so wish, or to speak to the audience as you prefer. So without any further ado, I will introduce Professor Mika Peck from the University of Sussex, who has been doing very interesting work on a number of projects, one of them being the paraecology projects, as well as a number of on-the-field projects in South America. So over to you.
Thanks. We're going to test it works. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Grand. Okay, share screen. Next test. Here we go. How's that looking? Good. Okay. I've got 5 minutes. I'll stick to my timer. I'm a stickler for that. So I just want to share with you some of the work we've been involved in since our first kind of invite when we came over to Italy a couple of years ago. And at that stage, we kicked off this concept of actual implementation of the rights of nature, because it's great having it in law, but if it's not applied, it's kind of useless. So I've been working in Ecuador for a long time on with communities on this concept of paraecologists, which is trained local communities to collect ecological data. And previously, we used it for other purposes, maybe for conservation purposes. But we won in 2021 the Los Cedros case. And that made me realize that if communities have access to this kind of ecological information, that has to form the basis for representing nature in the courts under Ecuadorian constitutional law. And it's kind of, it was this light bulb moment that actually this was a way of getting really just, socially equitable, I suppose, implementation mechanisms in place where you empower the communities themselves. Anyway, it's grown, it's been successful. We've managed to raise funding, and we're working in collaboration directly with GARN and SEDEMA as well. So we have our legal side that we feed this information into, and then we're kind of learning and feeding our way through. I'm just going to give you a short and sweet summary. This is a beautiful representation done by Sozapato, where we try to display the rights of nature in a form that was more understandable. I mean, written law, I go to sleep on science. But this is a beautiful way of representing the rights of nature laws within the Ecuadorian constitution. And we're focusing basically, as ecologists, we realize it's been left that nature has the right to respect nature should be respected in terms of its structure, vital cycles, functions, and evolutionary processes. Now, the reality is that is the realm of ecology, as in biology, ecology. And we have a challenge sometimes to actually define those, but we're working on those and we have some tools. Also, things like extinction, avoiding extinction. Well, we have a list, the red list, we can access information on these sorts of things. But I realized there was a big gap between legal understanding, ecological understanding, indigenous traditional ecological knowledge as well, and that cycle of understanding each other to really create these cases. So I suggested, we've suggested more recently creating a new interdisciplinary field, which integrates this ITK, indigenous traditional knowledge, ecological Western science, I suppose, which I'd be in, and law, the legal systems, there could be many levels, to actually implement this rights of nature. And the beauty of Ecuador, where I've worked since 1995 for the first time, was we had this opportunity where it's in the constitution at the highest level. So it was a great opportunity to try and really put this together. We were lucky last year, we had raised some funding for the first international forum of ecological forensics in the University Andina Simon Bolivar. And I've got to thank Natalia Green, I think she's there, for helping me organizing that. That was amazing. Where we brought together sort of transdisciplinary gathering of lawyers, academics, judges from the Constitutional Court, biologists, para-ecologists, paralegal, all sorts of people together to try and actually work out what we need, how we can create these legal cases to stand up in court most effectively. It was a great event. Here's a couple of pictures from that thing. So at the moment, we've also got another project. We've been funded to work with 3 communities, one in the Paramo up here, one in the Cloud Forest, which is the Junin case. Some of you may know that very well. And then one down with the Shuar people down in the Amazon area, and to bring together all the information to create strategic legal sort of cases to try and protect their territories. So what information do they need in these different ecosystems? And the reason why we chose these 3 is that they're along the altitudinal transect of Ecuador. They represent most of the ecosystems you have there. So once you know how to do it there, you can scale across. So that's the idea, really. So it's a sort of working experiment. Part of it is also developing a system to try and train people and then apply the knowledge effectively. So we have this, we have a 10-day training program that's got a curriculum based on the information we've used to win cases. There's some pictures from the last one in August where people came from all these different communities to learn how to monitor different aspects of water with a big focus in this case. And we've got this 5-step program now until we can leave a community really as an independent monitoring situation. But we are realizing that we're going to have to start the NGO hustle. We've created an organization called Eco-Forensics, supported by the University of Sussex initially. But, you know, we're talking about £150,000 a year to keep going. So there's issues now of joining the NGO hustle. And we can bring new communities online and give them a sort of a case and annual running cost at about $50,000, about $60,000, and then annual running costs of $10,000 afterwards for them to independently monitor. And just to end, really, another bit of work is a publication I'm just about to be launched on the 20th of March, which shows the scale of the problem in Ecuador. All the red here is mining that overlays protected areas or indigenous territories, 4,000 square kilometers of protected areas, hard won, we've fought for, indigenous territories, hard won, 6,000 square kilometers, native ecosystems, 13,000 square kilometers. So that's the scale of the issue. And that's really where they all need this information that Los Cedros had. And we're trying to create that mechanism to do it. So anyway, keep an eye on that. I'll share it as soon as it's published on the 20th of March as well. It's quite a good platform to try and do some strategic litigation around. I'll shut up now on my 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful to see how this has evolved so rapidly since the gathering was discussed. Oh, this was actually less than a month ago. Very excited to see how this is unfolding. And Mika will have to leave a little bit earlier because of teaching commitment. But if there are questions, I think actually they can be sent to him separately at a later stage. That's okay, Mika. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely no. Sorry, I have to go and teach, doing 2 jobs now, this eco-forensic and a real job here. See you later.
Thank you. Thank you. And so the next presentation is, the next presenter is the new director of the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor, Kat Haas. Kat has very enthusiastically taken over from Craig in leading the monitor, and really having a very clear plan on how to expand the monitor beyond its very extensive existing reach, with new focuses and new foci on how to expand the tracker, the library, and so on. The monitor has been the first and probably the largest project that the Hub has worked on over the last 2 to 3 years. It is the result of a very thorough reflection that has involved many of us here, Alex, myself, and many others who have been really thinking about the categories, the way to define different categories of eco-jurisprudential initiatives, from rights of nature to ecocide and so on and so forth. So without any further ado, over to you, Kat.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Kat. I know some of you, but not everyone. As Alex said, I am the new director of the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor, which began officially in October, but before then I was working with the monitor as a research assistant, so I've been involved for a couple years now. Many of you know Dr. Craig Kaufman. He is still very much involved, but I do the day-to-day operation so he can focus on some other things. He is here today, I think, or perhaps not, but that's fine. So I have a presentation. Most of you know the monitor. For those of you who don't, I'll talk a little bit about it, but then I'm going to talk about what we're doing right now and what we look to for the year ahead and some of our goals. So alrighty. Can y'all see that? Great. That's the end. This is our landing page. Many of you have probably seen it. You can address the monitor through its political map or its physical map without nation-state delineations. And when you go in, you see this dashboard. So the monitor was initially envisioned as containing multiple projects. And one of those projects is the Eco-Jurisprudence Tracker. And that was established by many of your efforts here on this call. And this is this interactive map that you see when you land on the monitor. And this was launched in 2022. So users can interact with this map interface and explore individual initiatives. They can look at this data analysis that you see with the graphs and the charts that have overarching trends and highlight patterns. And you can also go into these individual initiatives on the map, explore them, have their legal resources, as well as additional resources like news articles and videos, etc. Since the launch of the tracker, officially about a year ago, when it was launched, it had 410 initiatives. And in the past year, we've added over 100 new initiatives. Some of these are from the past year, and some are ones that we have identified after the fact that were reported to us. Something happened in 2021 that we weren't aware of. And this is something that I'm very excited about because while this is an incredibly robust resource, we know that it is undercounting some initiatives in some regions. And so we're excited to expand our network and grow awareness of the project and help create this network of support to help make sure that this is as comprehensive and accurate of a resource as it can be. And I have seen this certainly occurring over the past 6 months, which is exciting. And so phase 1 constituted the development of this tracker. And as we enter phase 2, we're going to be continuing this, but also shifting priorities to focus on our communications and our outreach and starting to think about new projects and some of these ideas that we had from the get-go, which because of their size and complication, they're being developed incrementally, right? So now we're going to start turning our attention to them and hopefully begin to be able to address them in 2025. So I just want to share a little bit more, we currently have 512 legal provisions across 46 countries, as well as numerous international policy documents. And currently, the regions with the highest initiatives are North America and Latin America, which have 170 and 158 respectively. That is as of this morning. And then Europe follows with 53 documented initiatives. And these include, as a reminder, initiatives that go beyond rights of nature. They also include all expressions of ecological jurisprudence, which include ecocide law and indigenous models and things that express ecological jurisprudence from a non-Westernized rights of nature point. So looking ahead, we are hoping to build a network of partnerships, but also with organizations, but also partnerships with individuals who can help monitor developments in their country, their region, their network, and report them to me for inclusion in the monitor. This is because with over 500 initiatives and a global lens, that's almost impossible for one person to monitor everything that's happening. So we really rely on this collaborative model. We have some people who have already agreed to be community representatives and our country representatives. And we also have just been building a really great system of relationships, and we're getting people reporting initiatives directly and reporting them via our social media pages and WhatsApp groups, and the GARN regional hubs have been super helpful with that. So if you would like to be a country representative or know anybody that you would recommend, please email me. That would be wonderful. And we're also excited to engage with other various kinds of collaboration events, developing resources. So please reach out if you have an idea or are interested in collaborating. You can visit our Get Involved page on the monitor, which is new, and that will show you various opportunities and ways to get in touch with us. In January, we launched the new internship program, which has been really fun. We had a lot of interest, which is amazing. It was initially started because of a conversation I had with the GARN Youth Hub. And in January, we launched our first cohort. We have 3 interns that are able to choose from a research internship or a communications internship. The research interns, there's 2 of them. Their current projects are looking at youth involvement in rights of nature. And this was explicitly developed with the GARN Youth Hub from a question that they posed about how much youth are involved in these initiatives. And I realized that's not something the monitor tracks. And then our other research intern is looking at our indigenous models category and sort of auditing all of these and identifying ways that these initiatives could be enhanced in the monitor, providing more resources, better representation of them, identifying their cosmologies, things like this, making sure that they're really appropriately represented and accurate. And then we have an amazing communications intern who's helping build out our social media, which you can access on Instagram and LinkedIn for updates. And these research projects are super exciting because they each have a very specific focus, and the idea is that their deliverables will create new features that can be incorporated into the monitor, developing resources that are useful maybe for the GARN regional hubs, for academic institutions, and also just providing general data analysis. So we hope that this Youth in Rights of Nature project can create a new feature in the monitor that identifies youth explicitly as an initiating actor. And the idea for the research internship in general is that more data analysis like this can happen with students' involvement, and then they can be incorporated into the monitor. And yes, our interns join us from Finland, UK/Brazil, and Mexico. there will be another cohort in the summer and another in the fall. Then finally, the other thing happening right now, some of you have seen communication about it. I'm looking to create the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor working group, and this will help me and make decisions and help evolve the monitor, being able to review important theoretical questions, revisit how we're categorizing things, how we're defining things, and also larger scale questions of how to develop and enhance it. And hopefully this will also discuss ways to incorporate these other projects that you're going to hear about in a little bit into the monitor soon. And finally, we are looking this upcoming year, so in 2025, we want to begin our Stories and Strategies project, which is one of the projects that was initially envisioned to be a part of the monitor, but is a large endeavor. And this is really exciting. It's a project that will provide multimedia resources and on-the-ground stories behind these initiatives, what the context is of them, why they were initiated, what the worldview is behind them, the stories of the people promulgating them. And this is really, in my opinion, the depth of the monitor, because while we provide details and summaries and the legal documents, and that is wonderful, what really will propel this paradigm shift and enable people to have storytelling and understand alternative points of view and the different strategies happening all around the world will be through these stories and this context. So that will be something that we are brainstorming and hoping to apply for funding for over this year and begin implementing in 2025. And we will be looking for lots of partnerships with that. So more on that to come. And yes, all of this is generally to enhance and develop the monitor. We're hoping to do some web enhancements that can incorporate some of these new features, and will also be part of the Stories and Strategies project. Give it a general facelift, if you will. And please, my email is open to anyone. Please reach out if you have ideas or partnerships. That's it.
Well, thank you so much, Kat. And I think actually everyone who has watched the monitor grow from the beginning will agree that to watch what Kat is doing is absolutely amazing. Like you've brought in like this enthusiasm and clarity to the project, and it's really visible how the project is growing in a very clear, very coherent, and very consistent manner. So thank you for all that you're doing, Kat. And it's also amazing to see that the number of initiatives, recorded initiatives, not necessarily new initiatives, but has grown by 20%. A growth of 25% in a year is something, astounding. Like I remember having this conversation with some of you or some colleagues 15 years ago when I first encountered the emergence of rights of nature. And I remember colleagues saying, well, but how does that work? How can it work? The idea of, be it rights of nature, ecocide, etc. Well, I'd say that 512 initiatives are a testimony to the fact that it is not a question of whether it can work, but it's a question of reflecting on how it has worked and it is working already. So thank you for all the work that this is doing in showcasing and putting together the visibility of initiatives that would be otherwise dispersed in different instances. So
Thank you. And I just want to say one more thing. I want to introduce people to my colleague Lourdes, who is here today. I don't want to put you on the spot, but she has so generously agreed to be a country representative for Ecuador and has been an enormous help. So I just want to welcome her and introduce her to everyone and say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lourdes. And I see, Kat, that Sarah has asked if you could just put your email details in the chat so that people can contact you directly.
Yes, absolutely.
Connected to the monitor, we also had a conversation on the Eco-Jurisprudence Library. We wanted to undertake an overview of the existing secondary literature, that is all the peer-reviewed literature on ecological jurisprudence. And Lauren and Anastasia had very kindly agreed to start the project last year. One thing that became very apparent very quickly is that the number of documents that have been produced over the last 10, 15 years has grown beyond anything that anyone can meaningfully collect. So just putting rights of nature alone in Google Scholar, if I remember correctly, and you correct me, Lauren, if I am not, would yield something akin to 18,000 results. 18,000 results. That's well beyond any literature that anyone can keep up with. So the growth of initiatives has been paralleled by a significant growth of literature on the meta, and clearly the scholarship has now becoming more and more specialized, and that's fantastic. It means that this is not any longer a fringe theoretical pursuit. It is definitely a mainstream theoretical pursuit, as many of us here already know. So the Eco-Jurisprudence Library project has morphed from a mere collection of documents to something more than that. And so I will leave it to Lauren and Anastasia, respectively a PhD candidate at the State University of New York and new co-chair of the Academic Hub, and a student at the Wageningen University in the Netherlands. So Lauren and Anastasia.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, so Anastasia and I were working on this last year, and we'll continue on working on it just ongoing, because it's kind of a living document that we're hoping to house on the monitor. So like Alex was saying, that initially the goal was to have a comprehensive list of all the academic literature on eco-jurisprudence and have that on the monitor website so people can search it by categories. And we tried our best at first, and then it's impossible for a human to do. So like maybe eventually we could have some coding and it be more connected into Google Scholar and people can connect that way, but it's not possible for us right now. So instead, we still knew that there needs to be, or that it'd be useful to have some sort of resource, like as a student or as a researcher or as an activist or journalist, that there's misunderstandings of what eco-jurisprudence is, or it's just a new term. So what kind of resource can we provide that would help someone that's new to it or is starting to learn and maybe only knows the term rights of nature and doesn't know all these cool developments and other related terms that are there? So our project kind of morphed from a list of literature to a glossary, and Anastasia will explain that a bit more.
Yes, so as was already said, we were faced with the choice to adjust what we initially wanted to do. And we were really coming together in meetings and talking about what can we provide with this list, with this glossary, if you will, what is not already out there, or what you can just Google yourself as well, what Google Scholar can provide you. So we were really revising our goal into creating not only a list of literature, but also really considering the terms that you use when you are looking for certain literature. So we really wanted to also have an overview of the terms that are part of the literature that surrounds eco-jurisprudence. That would include a definition of those terms as well, because we spoke about it that oftentimes the terms that are picked up are maybe not very common Western terms. It could be indigenous terms. Many people are working on this, of course. So we also really were thinking about, okay, we need to also be able to define the terms if we're using them in a sort of search function that we could then maybe publish on the website. We also decided that we're going to add not only one piece of literature per term,
or per search term that we are going to do, because we didn't want to only have the one paper or a journal article that is the most read. We wanted to have some kind of balance in there, also from geographical area where a paper comes from, where the author comes from. So we decided that we would choose 3 suggested readings per research term. And also, if you will see later when I will share the actual document, you will see that we really wanted to focus also on the indigenous terms, on the terms that came before. We called it rights of nature. The terms that came before, we called it eco-jurisprudence. So the terms from other cultures that have been around culturally for a very long time that can now in eco-jurisprudence research be picked up again. And also for people who are now doing research on these topics to find the literature that they actually need. So if you're doing research for a certain geographical area, that you could find terms or philosophies or concepts that have been around in that geographical area for some time, and you could really elevate also your understanding of how everything is intertwined. The pros of this were that the tracking was becoming much more feasible. It gave us the opportunity to now, if we realize it on the website, to have a search function via term. It'll have an opportunity for you to immediately have a kind of definition with it as well. And also from us curated reading lists, so that you're not only presented with a term or a concept, but that you already have a document that you could look at if you wanted to look into this more to see if this fits. So here we have a little screenshot of this. So we have a little bit of an idea, though I am going to switch the screen now, and I'm actually going to share the document itself. So you also have an idea of how extensive our research ended up being in the end. So I hope you can see this. This is what it looks like now. So as we said, this is a starting point for now. We hope that we can extend it even more. But if you just let me make it even smaller, just so you have an idea of the scope that we're talking about here. Here are the terms. And we have a very extensive list already of terms, of reading lists, of definitions of the terms. And we're very much looking forward to adding more terms, adding more definitions and concepts, being able to extend this over the next few years, if you will. And we're really happy that because of the way that we made the decisions with this project, we will be able to just continue extending this as well. So how it will look like in the next few years, let me just go back to the other presentation again. Lauren will present this. Let's go.
Yeah, so we tackled it into like a nice starting point, and we'll work through this year helping get it onto the EJM website, but also want to figure out a way to invite contributions, and so that the term list grows, because we're limited in our language and where we've been studying, and there's a lot more out there. And ways to just kind of group the terms in a way that makes sense. Right now, it's a mixture of, there's some philosophies in there, but there's also law, legal terms. And so it's kind of all over, but it's a really rich resource, I think. And I think with the Academic Hub and all the brilliant minds here, there'll be a lot of cool contributions, and it'll be a nice thing we could all use together. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, and this is an amazing project from the very beginning, and I think everybody will hopefully agree to see that this is the paradigmatic definition of an academic pursuit, the analytical effort that went into establishing analytical categories for what is the emergence of an ecological jurisprudence really showcases how the harnessing of different academic minds can really be directed to such an incredible outcome. So I think it's fantastic to see how it grows, and I really look forward to seeing it grow even further. So thank you for all the work that you're doing here. So our next project, and I'm sure that you can already sense the diversity of projects that we're witnessing here and the richness of these projects that we're witnessing here. Our next presenter is Lucy Galahad, who is the new communication officer of the Academic Hub, as well as the communication officer of the European Hub. She's a Scottish-based activist and currently a student at both the University of Edinburgh and Sciences Po in Paris. And Lucy has been working on the GARN podcast project for a couple of years almost now, and the project is now ready for its official launch. So over to you, Lucy.
Hello, and lovely to speak to you all. I will just try and sort my screen sharing. Okay, is that good? Can you see this? Okay, fantastic. It's not an incredibly detailed PowerPoint, because I thought I would let the talking carry the weight, much like the podcast itself. And I wanted to start out by saying thank you to Alex, A, for facilitating this meeting, and B, for making the Academic Hub such a warm and welcoming place to spend time. I think for many of us, the word academia kind of conjures dryness or deadline panic or something much more serious than what the Academic Hub has evolved into, which is an incredibly diverse, creative, imaginative space, as has been showcased. And listening to all of the other presentations, I think, highlighted for me the incredible connectivity between all of these projects, many of which have fed into the podcast itself. So the podcast is a collaborative effort. I got in touch with the Academic Hub a number of years ago and pitched the idea of a podcast to capture the movement as it stands at the moment and form a sort of time capsule of the activism and the legal work, the creative efforts that drive and motivate the movement. And I was pointed towards the GARN Global team, where I met Jose, who at a very similar point in time had a very similar idea that a podcast could be a powerful way to communicate with people, to capture the knowledge that exists within the movement, to tell stories, elevate new perspectives, and to bring new people into the movement through the medium of audio. We liked the idea of a podcast because it can be an accompaniment to everyday activities. Many of us know what it's like to listen to a podcast while you do the dishes or go for a run, or just in some other way engage with the natural world, perhaps on a walk. And we thought a podcast would be a fantastic way to record conversations remotely, was our expectation for all of the episodes, because the people that work in the rights of nature and ecological jurisprudence spaces are incredibly well spread throughout the world. So the possibility of sitting down physically with people to record these conversations was low. We have Juan Diego, a fantastic producer who has edited these remotely recorded episodes, and Gallo, who many of you will have worked with very closely, has been pivotal on the tech side as well. So, like I say, our expectation was that we would record conversations remotely, and we were lucky enough that many of our conversations were actually recorded in person. You'll see some pictures here from a couple of years ago now, or about 18 months ago. Many of us gathered in Siena in the most beautiful setting, and myself and Jose took the opportunity to pull people aside, to record conversations in a very organic and natural way. We want the style of the podcast to be conversational, and that was one of our core hopes when we started off our discussions about the project. We wanted a friendly, familiar feeling to the conversation so that when people listen, they don't feel intimidated by the information, they feel drawn in. And in these pictures, you'll see Nika, who gave one of the first presentations today on para-ecology. We have an exciting episode that will be released soon, talking to him about his personal connection to the movement, some substantive elements of the scientific work, kind of weaving those together. You'll also see Alex and Craig in a joint conversation about the Ecological Jurisprudence Monitor. So as you can imagine, The episodes capture a moment in time, and I think all of us on the creative organizational team are really excited at the idea that this is a resource that will last and hopefully consolidate people's existing commitments to the movement and create new fibers, create new connections, and bring in people who would otherwise have been either unaware or intimidated by the movement within, giving them what feels like a privileged access to people's insights and stories. And as someone that's listened to as many episodes as I can, all of the English speaking ones at least, I can say that there are so many moving moments, so many light bulb moments, and I'm genuinely excited to share the series with you all in the coming months. You'll see on the screen now where you will find the podcast already on Spotify. So episode 0 is already out. And I cannot wait to gather feedback and see where the podcast leads as we go into the future and what new stories will emerge as a result.
Excellent. Thank you, Lucy. It's really great to see that the podcasts are live, and maybe can I just ask you maybe to stop the screen sharing if that's okay? And it's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, done.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing it grow on Spotify, and it's so good to see that it's on Spotify. So after we finish, that's my listening for the day already scheduled. Excellent. Thank you. And that you can see how the project really integrates so much with the other projects that just have come before. Like there's sort of a synergy of work already emerging and very, very clear. And indeed, I agree. I entirely agree with Jose. There's a a very beautiful, soothing quality to the tone of your voice, Lucy, that really works very, very well for the podcasts, to guide the podcasts. So thank you. Connected to this project is the next project, the blog project, which Dr. Laura Burgers from the Faculty of Law at the University of Amsterdam has been leading. So over to you, Laura.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited to share some progress because for a while this was a bit of a dormant project. I do not have a PowerPoint presentation, by the way, but I brought somebody else to this meeting, namely Subin, because I asked him to join me. So I'm not sure, Subin, maybe you can also just wave the people so they know they can see you, or say something perhaps if you want.
Yeah, thank you, Laura, and hello all. Subin here from India. Nice meeting all of you. Thank you.
Great. So we actually, there is indeed some progress. So what we did is we have reached out to a number of people. Oh, maybe I should perhaps update you also on the ambitions for the blog. So what we really hope is that we can make this, I mean, we already heard that there is more than 18,000 publications on the rights of nature. So we perhaps can even end up in a situation like that. It's hard to see the trees in the forest through the trees. Is this also an English expression? Anyway, it's hard to get some oversight. So what we really hope is that our blog will be a go-to place for anyone who will be interested, any academic interested to engage with eco-jurisprudence. And what we also hope is that this can really be a very inclusive place. So one of the things that perhaps, well, it's not unique, but one thing that I really like about the way we set it up is that we intend it to be possible to contribute in several languages. And we already have one contribution that is almost finalized, and that is indeed written in 2 languages, namely in English as well as in German. And we have about, I think, 5 upcoming contributions that will be submitted in March. So that means, I think, that we have something, if they are all submitted indeed in March and we will chase the people a bit, then we have something that we can actually put online and we have a beginning of the blog. And then once those contributions are out there and we can publicize them a little bit, then we hope, of course, that also people whom we don't know will also be eager to contribute to this blog. So nothing to show yet, but hopefully this year we will finally launch this wonderful blog project. Thanks.
Fantastic, Laura. And I really like the idea of the multi-language approach, because although by de facto English has become the lingua franca, the Latin of today, it is good to maintain that linguistic plurality. And I think in the one thing that was noted in the chat is the importance of remembering that languages carry meaning that cannot necessarily be easily translated into other languages. They can be approximated, certainly, but not easily transformed or translated into other languages. So this maintenance of linguistic plurality, I think, is an important and a crucial point. So thank you. The next project is led by Pietro Torrisi, an independent Italian filmmaker based in Los Angeles and Hollywood, who has been working on the Rights of Nature stories, a visual and filmic exploration of rights of nature. So over to you, Pietro.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Alessandro. Let me share my screen. It should be working. So yeah, so this Rights of Nature Stories is a documentary project to share the stories of the people that are working to advance rights for the natural world. In sharing these stories, we want to portray an informative perspective, so that we're capturing the events in an informative perspective. We wanted to make it replicable to the audience, so that who sees this is inspired to learn and possibly implement themselves some of the concepts that they see. And most of all, we wanted to appeal to our shared humanity, which I believe is the perfect way for the audience to relate to these stories and make them powerful. So in 2023, we started collecting stories and instances in Spain on the Mar Menor, which is the biggest saltwater lagoon in Europe, and one of the first instances of rights of nature in Europe, as well as on the Klamath River in California. Because of the magnitude of this project, as Kat was mentioning, there are so many instances, hundreds of instances in the world. We are very grateful to be interacting with people and organizations and projects that are already studying and researching the rights of nature. So, for example, we will be very happy to integrate our work in the stories and strategy section of the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor by crafting shorter videos, as our episodes for the docuseries we're aiming to have a format that is about 30 minutes or more. So shorter formats could really be beneficial to be shared on the channels of other organizations. Our timeline for 2024 sees it as on track for different sections in the spring and the fall to keep working on the episodes of the Mar Menor and the Klamath. And because of the work that's been done, we're seeing that it will probably be possible to have the episode on the Mar Menor ready by September. And throughout the years, we're going to keep fundraising and cultivating partnership to see distribution for the docuseries eventually. One of the latest development of the project is our sustainability account, which speaks to for us to be accountable for our emissions and our carbon footprints while working on the project. So this allows us to develop a strategy to reduce the footprint where it's possible, and most importantly, where it is not possible to avoid emissions, like for traveling, we set in place a plan with the company Etifor, which is based in Italy. And we are able, through them and through their project of reforestation and ecosystem sustain, we're able to not only capture our emission, but also participate in a project that on the long run will be climate positive, which means that we will sequester more carbon than actually what we emitted. So we have, this is a quick overview, but we have material online that goes in depth into the details of the docuseries. There's a pitch deck and a teaser trailer on the Marmanor episode available if you wish to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you, Pietro, and definitely worth watching the trailer. I had the privilege of watching the trailer before the presentation, so I really suggest everybody to watch it. And maybe Pietro, I don't know whether it's possible. Maybe you can put that in the chat box, like the
absolutely, yeah,
that everybody can sort of save it and watch it immediately after. So it's Pietro has been working on this project, as you've seen, for quite some time, and it's fantastic to see how this is the work that has occurred over the last couple of 18 months has been growing and further. It's really the seeding that occurred in Siena has grown exponentially. The next presentation is by Juan Sebastián Acosta, un artista plástico from the National University of Colombia. Is a permaculturist, a defender of the rights of nature, and he's the creator and the ideator of the Campus Vivo project, a project that that looks not at the analytical side of the Academic Hub, but rather at the pedagogical side of what the Academic Hub does. It teaches, it's designed to teach others about the rights of nature principles on multiple levels. And Juanse has been working extensively on this project for a number of years with great success. And so I'm really glad to see this project going forward and going further. Over to you, Juanse.
Thank you, Alexandro. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you again. I'm greeting you from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. It is very warm. I send you a warm hug for all of you. I will share my screen, but up here. Well, the first time that I shared this project with you was launching, but now we are launching the third year. So we have 3 years consecutive making the Campus Vivo. Is interesting. This project was born with the idea of create a new university of rights of nature. So Academic Hub is making a big efforts in different files, but we are focusing in pedagogy, in educational practicing with communities, because in Latin America, for example, there is a lot of cases of rights of nature involved extractivism against communities and indigenous people and farmers and different basic groups. So we create this project thanks to the researching that I made in the master degree in rights of nature in the Andean University in Ecuador. So with this proposal, we create into the GARN Latin America's Hub space to the courses. This is an online program, but the strategy is to involve the communities with activities in their own lands. So this is a most important thing is about the scale. So the Global Alliance is around the globally, but we have to work in the local. So this Campus Vivo is creating local hubs or mini hubs in different cities and municipalities. I come from an artistic and cultural management to rights of nature. I create some festivals and international forums of rights of nature in Colombia, where I met Natalia and all the GARN 5 years ago. And after all these artistic and cultural actions, we understand that the rights of nature needs a transformation of the cosmovision or of the vision of world. So it's not just to understand how to defend at the legal dimension, but we know that all the citizens need to change their own relation with the nature. So in the cosmovision and the indigenous focus in Latin America, we have a lot of knowledge to share about how to repair our relation with the nature. And this transformation is a process, and it's a very deep process, and we have to research, and we create a Campus Vivo with the advices or experience of more than 10 scholar program centered in the earth. So we launched this course online in 2022. And we create this with a Minga. Minga is in indigenous, is like a collaborative work of knowledge. And we make interviews, and with these interviews of all these directors of educational programs, including Pedagogía de la Madre Tierra, indigenous schools, and even the master degree or other programs, we have 16 experience in educational project focuses on the earth. And with this 16 experience, we create our own design in Campus Vivo. All this person was very useful about their experience and about their advices. And we mixed some relevant literature review and oral traditions too. And some of the features of this pedagogy that we are creating is about the ecology of knowledge, because this is not about just the logos, but also a level of the myths, of the mythos. The oral tradition is a lot of knowledge that we have to recover to heal our relation with the nature. So in this program, we focus in intercultural transdisciplinarity, and theoretical, practical, and committed learning. And of course, is an educational, situated, and experiential, and in constant review. This program includes a little course for the leaders. Each community has 1, 2, or 3 leaders who help us to create some activities in their own lands, because we have a lot of groups, but each group has the mission of the challenge of create some presential activities. And we have in the first year, we have 12 mini hubs of 12 groups, and more than 100 participants each year. So we have until now, we have more than 200 participants from more than 7 countries in Latin America, because this starts just with Latin America, but our proposal is growing out until the Global Alliance with the Academic Hub support. And we have involved in some NGOs, some other collectives, and some other neighbors. And we are invited some teachers and elders from indigenous communities. And this course have 8 virtual modules and one activity, at least one activity or field trip. We have a curriculum design. We have the contents, the components, the distribution, some approaching from the ecological, deep ecological, and other concepts. We have this link with the communities, with grassroots communities, or groups in the cities or in the lands. Each group have a case study with characterization, or well, each case is a very specific case. And of course, we are trying to facilitate to the groups to create some field trip or face-to-face dynamics and feedback to the leaderships. And finally, I have to say that this pedagogical approach is focusing cultural and community dynamics, because each territory has their own dynamics. There is a lot of artistic mediation, a lot of biocultural poetics, a lot of mixturing science and traditional knowledge, and this is mixing the platform online, the platform of course, but too with the calendar of each group. We have some of 23 groups around Latin America, like Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, Ecuador, Venezuela, Chile, and we really hope to expand this. This year we are closing an alliance with the Barcelona University and other universities out of the Latin America. So we will need more support to translations and to make bigger this platform. And we are in full and constant growing. So thank you for support. Thank you for this space. And we really want to connect with the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor, because one of the modules of the course is about this. And I invite all you who was interested in participate. We love to have your presence as invitees in this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanse. And as you said, I really look forward to seeing this program grow even further. I know how much work you've put into it. It's very visible, and you've really managed to bring together all these different voices, and primarily from Latin America. But I concur with you. It'd be good and great to see all these voices expand beyond Latin America and having all these international voices come together, because it's that pedagogical aspect of working both with communities and the larger community is central, I think, to the growth of the movement and the constant growth of the movement. So thank you for never giving up and continuing to make this happen. So very much a big shout out to you. The next presenter is Professor Jeremy Gilbert from the University of Roehampton. And Jeremy and I have known each other for almost 2 decades. And his work is focused on developing an interdisciplinary network on the study of the rights of nature in Europe. So over to you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. And hello, everybody. Glad to meet many of you, because I haven't been too good to attend those meetings, so my apology for that. And also, I hope my technology is not too bad. My internet has been bad, so hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, okay, good. I won't take too long, just to say that I've been developing a little project, and it's more to invite you to join me. I'm going to try to share with you. And I will send you the link to the website. So as Alex said, the idea is to develop a network on interdisciplinarity. The project started 2 years ago when I had conversation basically with, it's a bit like with what Mika was talking about. I think between ecologists, especially, and lawyers, it's often we talk about concept and we don't understand each other. So it's trying to break down the silos of disciplines and to bring everybody together. So that's what I mean by it's more a call to all of you to join us. So far, we have economists, people in politics, in philosophy, in anthropology. But the goal is really to bring all the disciplines to help us to understand more the right of nature. We did a scoping study 2 years ago, which was trying to go across the disciplines and try to understand what we mean by the right of nature from the different disciplines. to be honest with you, it already took 2 years to go just across the basic question of what do we understand by right of nature across different disciplines, because all those words are very different. Even the word rights in philosophy has a very different meaning than it is in ecology or in economics. I won't even, when we start to speak about nature, it's even more complex. So what was good is to understand between the disciplines, or we could support the emerging field that is the right of nature. What I'm going to do instead of sharing, I'm just going to send you a link to that website. You can see there's a few information there, but really it's more about inviting you to join and basically try to help us to bring as many disciplines as we can. I'm going to put the link in the chat there for you. So basically feel free to reach out to me. I've been applying for money to be able to develop a larger project. I haven't been successful at all yet, but I'm still hoping. But also my goal is to work with any of you that might be interested to engage in this interdisciplinary dialogue. I have to say the discussion with the economists has been really tangible. I don't know about you, but I've always, when I'm challenged, usually it's by the economist in terms of could it work? Do you mean that you want to stop development? So it was really good actually to bring economists on board to help us to prove that right of nature not only is a fantastic revolution, but also makes sense in terms of the economy. So that's for this project. So please feel free to reach. Basically, it's a call to GARN Academia to support this interdisciplinary network. The other one that I'm working on is with another crew, which is some name you might know, Elizabeth McPherson, Erin O'Donnell. We are trying to see to what extent academia can help us to get right of nature into international law. So we started last year, and we are trying to basically dismantle international law to see how much right of nature could go into international law. So if you're an international law person, please also reach out to us. We feel it could be important to have a bit more solid international legal scholarship, let's say, to help us to make the argument when the big COP meetings are happening, or whenever there's a big meeting at the international level. So the goal is to provide easy access to academic knowledge to the policy providers when they meet in those forums. Yeah, so that's all for me. I'm really glad to see all of you. I have to say it's nice to be part of this emerging family. I know some of you in person, but it would be nice to see you in person at some stage. But until then, please be in touch and feel free to reach.
Thank you, Jeremy. And as you were saying, like it's the important thing is, I suppose, is to acknowledge that these projects are different phases of evolution and they have different rhythms. And it's good to honor, I think it's important to honor those rhythms and not giving up, and you haven't. And so I definitely this will grow further and further, as many of the other projects that we've seen have done. So thank you for bringing together that. I know that you've been working on creating this network in Europe for quite some time, and I'd say it's absolutely fundamental. Europe is somewhat in a unique place because it does not have the fortune of being exposed to worldviews other than in very few parts of Europe. Most of it is not exposed to worldviews other than the ones derived from the Enlightenment. And so Europe is in the unique position of being somewhat deprived of the possibility of seeing the world in different ways, other than in northern part of the Scandinavian countries, obviously. And so I think it's important to have this reflective space where different traditions are interrogated in a multidisciplinary way. And I think that is a good segue to the next project, which is a project that Michael Lane and myself have been proposing for quite some time, and it will be launched probably in the second half of the year. And it is an edited collection tentatively titled Lands, Skies, Waters, and Laws. And it is a way of interrogating the idea of natural law or the potential idea of natural law from different cultural perspectives. What does it mean to speak of law? What does it mean to speak of nature, if it is ever possible to speak of those two, in different cultural contexts, indigenous and non-indigenous? And so we're looking at cultural traditions and indigenous traditions from all over the planet. So over to you, Michael. Michael is a Menominee Indigenous Sovereignty Advocate for the Indigenous Environmental Network. And Michael and I will be co-editing the work. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you for that. Only one on this earlier than me is Alex. I live in New Zealand, so he's got 3 hours earlier on me. So, and my name is Michael, and I'm from the Menominee Nation, and I work for Indigenous Environmental Network as the Indigenous Sovereignty Advocate. And the book idea came about a year ago in our academic hub meetings, but I think it was a smaller group than this. And what we really raised the issue has to do with some of the terminology being used that's been mentioned earlier in relation to the glossary, and some of the concerns about entrenching
I think Michael, I think the sound disappeared. Is that correct for everybody? Has the sound disappeared? Yeah. Michael, I don't think we can hear you any longer. I'm not sure if you can hear us. I think there must be a problem with the internet. So just a few seconds. It probably join us back in a second. And I don't want to steal his thunder and let him speak about the book shortly. And as someone said, obviously Europe is a bit more nuanced. It's not just the Sami people who have pre-Enlightenment traditions. There are pockets of those traditions in other places, and definitely I should have acknowledged that a little bit better before.
Oh, also, I apologize for dropping out. It does it every 15 or 20 minutes for some strange reason. It does the same to Hulu too, so it's not just picking on GARN. Okay, so where was I? So anyways, we're doing this book project so that we're reflecting not just Indigenous voices, which are diverse, by the way. There's no uniform Indigenous voice either. Although we do have a project called Inherent Relationships Jurisprudence, just for the definitional people. And that's looking at those inherent relationships as asserting Indigenous legal systems. We're also looking at for example, different definitions of the natural world from an Islamic perspective, a Buddhist perspective. We'll be looking, so on and so forth. So we'll be looking for submissions, as Alex said, later this year. We just had a meeting about it a few days ago, and we'll be looking for articles from the range of about 5,000 to 10,000 words. So if you have an idea for that. And we also don't want to throw the Eurocentric legal system under the bus either. So if you have a good article that looks at that, respecting diversity from that perspective would be good too. So we're not just saying, well, is all bad. We wouldn't want to say that. So I guess I'll just leave it there and just also say, one of the things that we're looking at in terms of our framework is the Siena Declaration. For those that have not read the Siena Declaration, we strongly advise you to do so, because the Siena Declaration lays out a number of things that sound really good, but have implications. And I'm not going to go belabor the point, but just make sure you read the Siena Declaration. It's not just words on a paper. It's about implementing what those words on the paper are. It's significant. And I'm not sure if a lot of people understand the significance of it, because it does embrace human rights, indigenous rights, and a number of other things as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. And very much so. The idea is to build upon the work that we've done over the last few years. And I think actually I completely agree. The Siena Declaration is meaningful. It's a way of capturing and harnessing all the work that went into the discussions that we many of us did in Siena. Michael, is Grant here?
No, I think we'll have to do it as a separate. He just said he's willing to have a meeting about it. Because
Okay.
if, for those that don't know, Earth Law Center also has a textbook on the rights of nature, and they're doing a revision. So
Okay.
rather than reinvent the wheel, we need to meet, just for everybody, we're going to be meeting to make sure that it's complementary to one another. And for those that haven't seen the textbook in the Academic Hub, it's a pretty good book that Earth Law Center has put out.
And indeed, and I think actually that's a good way of sort of bringing to a conclusion the various projects, in that the main effort of the Academic Hub thus far has been to try and build connections with different groups. The worst thing that can happen is the division in multiple overlapping projects that end up stealing attention from each other. I think you've all watched the Monty Python Life of Brian, and you remember that famous skit about the Liberation Front, now the Front of Liberation, and so on and so forth, where everybody actually splinters in mini groups that try to make sense of themselves. I think it's far more important to do the opposite. What Juanse was calling the minga, the coming together of everyone. And so, from my point of view, the effort that I put into the Academic Hub was to try and bring a minga, to try and facilitate a minga, and a collective effort where different perspectives can come together and enrich each other, as Michael was saying. They can enrich each other by doing complementary work that builds upon each other's work. I think the presentations have shown the diversity of work that has already been occurring and that is occurring, and it is growing. And this is by no means an exhaustive list of the projects. I know that there are many projects that have not been captured and that are happening behind the scene in different forms. My very dear friend and mentor, Professor Roberta Aluffi from the University of Turin, for example, has been working for decades on, I won't speak too much about the project itself, but on the work to try and stop the environmental destruction that is happening in the Po valleys in the northwest of Italy, for example. Sarah Gibran is working on this beautiful artistic project of dance and rights of nature, a rights of nature tribunal, mock tribunal, and bringing together art and law in a very innovative way. And that project will happen in Denmark, in Copenhagen, toward the end of the year in October. So there are so many other projects, and I'm just mentioning two because I'm familiar with them, but there are far more than those that we have listed. So that takes us to where to next, because all the work that you all have been mentioning is volunteer work. We're all working here, volunteering our time because of something that we believe in. And I think the harnessing of this volunteer work has shown that much can be done, much more can be done than if we were just to simply try and monetize what we're doing. We're not mercenary in our outlook. We're really givers rather than takers. And I think the capacity to bring together this giving is crucial. And creating the facility for that to happen is crucial. So I really want to thank GARN for making that possible. And I also want to thank Caitlin for working behind the scene for this webinar, because Caitlin has been working to record, to make the links possible and everything work. So thank you. And before I sort of invite you to think about where to next, I've just put here in the chat the website, and I would like to share. To do that, sorry, how to do that. I would like to share. How do I share that? Sorry, here. I'd like to share the screen to show you the Academic Hub website, which is now officially launched. You can see that there are There are links to various projects, such as the monitor that we've already seen and other projects that are going forward. You can see how to propose projects and have them embedded into the website. There's a list to the various members with the old steering committee, which will be changed, the various project leads connected to the projects, and so on and so forth. So my hope is that the website will become the point of reference for us as thinkers, researchers, dreamers, innovators, creators, artists, and so on. And from there, we can launch into the various projects, each one probably with their own website, their own creativity, their own spaces. So where to next then? So you will receive an email soon asking you whether you want to be listed as a member, so that your photo, bio, and contact details can go on the website. If you do have any project that you would like to lead, please reach out. And the idea is to do what we did now, to support each other and create synergies among the projects that we are working on. The aim is to try and get together in 2025, toward the end of 2025. Am I correct, Nati? End of 2025 for the 15th anniversary of GARN, and we'll use that as an opportunity to get together in person, both as GARN and as members of the Academic Hub. So, and that I believe will be in Brazil, in coinciding with the COP30. So there's sort of a in Belém, I think, in Brazil, coinciding with the COP30. So if you do have the opportunity, just put down the date, and it's toward the end of 2025. So that's a get together. But in between now and at the end of 2025, so in these 2 years, many more projects will emerge. The existing projects will grow further, as you can see, and it will be very interesting to see whether we go from 512 to 712 initiatives, Kat, in the on the Eco-Jurisprudence Tracker. We'll see whether from 18,000 we'll go to 36,000 articles or outputs on rights of nature. We'll have blogs and podcasts and movies and books and so on. So it's very exciting to see this growing further. And it's with great excitement that I hand over now officially to the new steering committee of the Academic Hub. And I thank everybody for the work that you've been doing so far. And I look forward to being continuously involved in an advisory capacity. But still, I look forward to keep working with you on so many projects. My hope is that my book on ecological jurisprudence, which is a book on the theory of ecological jurisprudence, will be finally published by the end of the year. As you all know, it's been just delayed because of some really pedantic issue about word length. Like they asked for 100,000 words and I did a little bit more. I gave them 230,000, really pedantic, like, it's just more than double. But because of that, I have to sort of cut it down to closer to 100,000, but the hope is to get it published by the end of the year, and I hope to do a presentation as well at the end of the year on that. So thank you all, and I now open it up to the floor for questions and discussions. So maybe for questions, if that's okay, maybe just raise your hand so that we have sort of a way to do to move forward. Thanks, Linda. Very kind of you to just move forward. If you raise your hand, and then we'll just have questions. We have another half an hour or so if you want to discuss, and then we will move on to seeing things grow even further. So any questions or thoughts? Juanse, over to you.
Thank you, Alessandro. I have write some email to Kat, to Micah, and to Jeremy, because I feel this project too close of our objectives. So we have making some dream together, but you are doing a part and we are doing other part. But in Latin America Hub, we are the full of work. Like we have no more people to amazing many cases, many projects. So I have this feel from Siena that we are making some double efforts, like the interdisciplinary network is very similar to the connection into university that we are doing to sustain and support the Campus Vivo. And the Youth Hub makes some experiments, some experience in the course with the Youth Hub. So I think we can, the Academic Hub is for this, how we can collaborate, because we are looking for more support. We are looking for more allies, for more organizations. And I now see here that there is other in the same. So I will have really, I don't know how, because I have working in networking so many years, but I feel that we can make some other tokens or other space to catch what Hub Latin America can give to the other projects and how the other projects can collaborate with us. This is the step that I am missing from 2 years ago. So I hope really that at least with the Eco-Jurisprudence Monitor and the interdisciplinary network, we can join together in a big and global university of rights of nature. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for your email, and that I completely agree. So keep a lookout for my response. It's already came your way.
Thank you. Lourdes?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to virtually meet you all. And I'm really excited about all the projects that, Kat has been sharing with me about the different forms and the different expressions that the GARN Academic Hub is developing, and just seeing them today, is amazing. I'm impressed by, all the work that you've been doing. And I also wanted to introduce myself quickly. So my name is Lourdes Aguas. I am a PhD candidate in sociology at the State University of New York, and I study the rights of nature in Ecuador. I'll leave my information in the chat, because I know that people from Ecuador are here and are participating as well, so it would be great to be in touch. And yeah, happy to be part of this amazing group.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions or ideas or connections? Okay, so you can see actually that there are a few. Oh, grazie, Alex, and thank you all for the comments. So I know that there are different time zones, so I'm not sure exactly what the time is for you. But if we don't have any further questions, I think we can reconvene and conclude this webinar. I hope it was useful for everybody. I definitely loved to see what's happening, and it is really inspiring to see how now I say the younger generation is taking up the baton and creating these possibilities and these opportunities and making them and putting them together in these very rigorous frameworks, very rigorous ways of seeing things and being in the world. So thank you all for the work that you're doing.
Alex, I put my hand up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, hi. A couple of things. Yeah, overall, I'm really gobsmacked about the amount of work being done. I wasn't aware of a lot of this stuff, and I kind of work in this area. So hats off to all of you for all the work that you've been doing. I'm really glad that this was organized. I do want to exercise a couple of words of caution. One has to do with the glossary and legal terms, because for those that are legally trained, you have to use the legal term as it's defined in the statute when you're dealing with statutory interpretation. So even though the legal term may have a general application, it may have a nuance in legislation that is either not commonsensical. I'll just caution there. The other thing has to do with internationalizing rights of nature. Until such time as there's wider understanding of the nuances of it that don't define it just as rights, I would suggest it being more of a development thing rather than an actual let's go do it and put it in the international arena, because otherwise you're probably going to get unintentional results, and both in terms of support or lack of support and in terms of ramifications. So I'm certainly willing. I put my email on there, Michael lowercase at ieandearth.org, to discuss that further. But I do have some concerns with just advancing an international rights in nature initiative. I'm not an international, but international law rights in nature. This is an international rights in nature initiative. So, okay, so just clarifying there. Anyways, but once again, I can't emphasize enough the Siena Declaration. If it says certain things in there, there are terms of art in there that need to be further understood by a lot of the hubs. I know we've been tackling that in the North American hub. Thank you, Caitlin, who's been navigating that space, and Caitlin and Ben Price in particular. And and so that's something people need to think about as an academic hub. How do we implement the Siena Declaration? It's not just something sitting there, it's about implementation as well. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's important to have these words of caution in that's the purpose, I think, exactly of this hub, for us to be aware of all these different, the risk of unintended consequences. I think, thank you for raising that, Michael, because the risk of unintended consequences is always ever present. And it is only through the variety of perspectives that we bring to the fore, the different worldviews that we have that really minimizes that risk. I don't know that we'll ever stop that, but at least we minimize it. And so thank you for those words of caution. Absolutely. Sarah, I think actually you wanted to say something as well.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you very much, everyone, for your presentations and very inspiring work. I'm quite amazed, and I don't know how you sustain it economically and in terms of human efforts. I wanted to mention that I'm with another artist in England. We're making a platform, an online interactive platform where the 3,363 species in risk of extinction are placed in the page, and they will allow with a code to people, and could be artists and non-artists too, to join in, replace the name of the species for a drawing. And this is the beginning of this forest trial performance that I'm building up for the end of this year, for October this year. So, well, it's also an extension for next year, and it's also actually connected to some things that some of you are doing with the gathering of stories and the cosmologies of people's habits and activities. So it's a long story short. Just wanted to mention that. On my webpage, you can read all of these things. So
And
thank you very much.
Sarah, you've put the links and the connections in the chat.
Well, I'll try, but it goes directly to you or not to the whole group. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here.
Oh no, you have to write, like at the beginning, you say meeting group chat, and it should send it to everybody. So when you click, like in the chat, it says who you're writing to, and it should link to that. I can't see it because it's a bit. Otherwise, just send it through, and I will just pass it to everybody.
You forward it.
Before I conclude, I also would like to say a big thank you to my dear friend Gallo, because the website that you've just seen is Gallo's creation. So it's a beautiful website, and it's all Gallo's doing. So thank you, Gallo, and thank you for working so hard on it. I know that we've been working on it very intensively over the last month or so. So thank you. Thank you for really making it such a beautiful website. Once again, thank you all. I feel privileged in working with you all and having worked with you all over, in some cases, 25 years, in some cases 20, in some cases far less than that. But it's been an absolute privilege working with you all on this evolving worldviews, because ultimately I think what we're asking is we're asking the question of what it means to be humans in a more than human world and how to do so ethically. And I think we're all asking the same question. So I think it's a real, from my point of view, it's a real privilege to be walking and working alongside you on this path. So thank you, and I wish you all the best. And I look forward to working together in the future and continuing working together in the future. And all the best to the Academic Hub, and here may it grow exponentially. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.